Century, Wounded Galaxies Festival, and the Writers Guild at Bloomington tonight bring you an evening of outstanding dramatic radio thrills and Christmas cheer. A trio of tales to warm the heart and guaranteed to keep you in suspense. Our first play, Sorry, Wrong Number, a story compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure, a tale of a woman trapped by technology of the past. Recall, if you can, a more primitive era, before smartphones, before the internet, before the safety net of 911, when all telephones were connected with hard wires and had rotary dials instead of push buttons or screens. Telephone numbers had words in them, and there was only one telephone system, and live human beings called operators were available to answer any call and supposedly help any caller, even a nervous wife who overhears a conversation and death is on the party line. Sorry, Wrong Number was written by Lucille Fletcher and is calculated to keep you in suspense.
Oh, dear. Oh.
Your call, please.
Operator, I've been dialing Murray Hill 70093 now for the last 3/4 of an hour, and the line is always busy. I don't see how it could be busy that long. Will you please try it for me?
I will be glad to try that number for you. One moment, please.
I don't see how it could be busy all this time. It's my husband's office, and he's working late tonight. I'm here all alone. My health is very poor, and I've been feeling nervous, so nervous all day.
Ringing Murray Hill 70093.
It isn't it?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, is Mr. Stevenson there?
Hello?
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 Hello? George?
Yes, sir. This is George speaking.
Hello, who is this? What number am I calling, please?
I'm, here with our client.
Oh, good. Is everything okay? Is the coast clear for tonight?
Yeah, George. He says the coast is clear for tonight.
Okay then.
Where are you now?
I'm in a phone booth. Don't worry, everything's okay.
Very well. You know the address?
Yeah, I know. At 11 o'clock, the private patrolman goes around to the bar on 2nd Avenue for a beer.
Yes, that's right. At 11 o'clock.
I will make sure that all the lights downstairs are out.
Oh, there should be only one light visible from the street.
Yeah, I know. At 11:15, the train crosses the bridge. It makes a noise in case her window's open and she should scream.
Oh, hello. What number is this, please?
Okay, I understand, I tell you. That's 11:15, the train.
Yes. You remember everything else, George?
Yeah, I make it quick. As little blood as possible, because our client does not wish to make her suffer long.
Yes, that's right. And you'll use a knife?
Yes, a knife will be okay. And afterwards, I remove the rings and the bracelets and the jewelry in the bureau drawer, because our client wishes it to look like simple robbery. Don't worry, everything's okay. I never made...
Oh, how awful. How unspeakably awful. Oh, operator, please answer. Hi. Operator, I've just been cut off.
I'm sorry. What number were you calling?
Well, it was supposed to be Murray Hill 70093, but it wasn't. Some wires must have crossed. I was cut into a wrong number, and I've just heard the most dreadful thing. Something about a murder. And, Operator, you must simply have to retrace that call at once.
I beg your pardon. May I help you?
I know it was a wrong number, and I had no business listening, but there was these two men, and they were cold-blooded fiends, and they were going to murder somebody. Some poor, innocent woman who was all alone in a house near a bridge, and we've got to stop them. We've just got to.
What number were you calling, please?
Well, that doesn't matter. This was a wrong number, and you dialed it for me, and we've got to find out what it was immediately.
What number did you dial?
Why are you so stupid? What time is it? Do you mean to tell me that you can't find out that number was just now?
I'll connect you with the chief operator.
Oh, I think it's perfectly shameful. Now, look, it was obviously in a case of some little slip of the finger. I told you to try Murray Hill 70093 for me, and you dialed it, but your finger must have slipped, and I was connected to some other number, and I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. Now, I simply failed to see why you couldn't make that same mistake again on purpose. Why couldn't you try to dial Murray Hill 70093 in that same sort of careless way?
Murray Hill 70093?
Yes.
I'll try to get it for you.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, Murray Hill 70093 is busy. I'll call you in 20 minutes.
No! Operator!
Your call, please.
You didn't try to get that wrong number at all. I asked you explicitly, and all you did was dial correctly.
I'm sorry. What number are you calling?
Well, can't you for once forget what number I'm calling and do something for me? Now, I want to trace that call. It's my civic duty, and it's your civic duty to trace that call and to apprehend those dangerous killers. And if you won't, I will
Connect you with the chief operator.
Please. Oh, dear.
This is the chief operator.
Chief Operator, I want you to trace a call, a telephone call immediately. I don't know where it came from or who was making it, but it's absolutely necessary that it be tracked down. Because it was a murder someone's planning a terrible, cold-blooded murder of a poor, innocent woman tonight at 11:15.
I see.
Well, can you trace it for me? Can you track down those men?
I'm not certain. It depends.
Depends on what?
It depends on whether the call is still going on. If it's a live call, we can trace it on the equipment. If it's been disconnected, we can't.
Disconnected?
If the parties have stopped talking to each other.
Oh, but of course they must have stopped talking to each other by now. That was at least 5 minutes ago, and they didn't sound like the type that would make a long call.
Well, I can try tracing it. May I have your name, please?
Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Albert Stevenson. But listen, please.
And your telephone number, please?
Plaza 42295. But if you go on wasting all this time...
Why do you want this call traced,
What?
please?
What? Well, no reason. I mean, I merely felt very strongly that something ought to be done about it. These men sounded like killers. They're dangerous, and they're going to murder this woman at 11:15 tonight, and I thought the police ought to know.
Have you reported this to the police?
Well, no, not yet.
You want this call checked purely as a private individual?
Yes, but meanwhile...
I'm sorry, Mrs. Stevenson, but I'm afraid we couldn't make this check for you and trace the call just on your say-so as a private individual. We'd have to have something more official.
Oh, for heaven's sake. You mean to tell me I can't report that there's going to be a murder without getting tied up in all this red tape? Why, it's perfectly idiotic. Oh, well, all right. I'll call the police.
Thank you. I'm sure that would be the best way to handle it.
Oh, ridiculous. Perfectly ridiculous. The thought of it. I why I have to go through all this trouble. Oh, my goodness.
Your call, please.
The police department. Get me the police department, please.
Thank you.
Oh, dear. Oh, do you have to dial? Can't you just ring them direct?
Ringing the police department.
Police station, precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police department, this is Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Albert Smythe Stevenson of 53 North Sutton Place. I'm calling up to report a murder. The murder hasn't been committed yet, but I just overheard plans for it on the telephone over a wrong number that the operator gave me. I've been trying to trace this call myself, but everybody is so stupid. And I guess in the end, you're the only people that could do anything.
Yes, ma'am.
It was a perfectly definite murder. I heard their plans distinctly. Two men were talking, and they were going to murder some woman at 11:15 tonight. She lived under a bridge. Are you listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a private patrolman on the street. He's going to go around for a beer on 2nd Avenue, and there was some third man, a client who was paying to have this poor woman murdered. They were going to take her rings and bracelets and use a knife. Well, it's unnerved me dreadfully, and I'm not well, and I'm feeling so nervous.
I see. When was all this, ma'am?
About 8 minutes ago. Then you can do something. You do understand.
What's your name, ma'am?
Mrs. Stevenson, Mrs. Albert Stevenson.
And your address?
53 North Sutton Place. 53 North Sutton Place. That's near a bridge. The Queensboro Bridge, and we have a private patrolman on our street and a 2nd Avenue.
What was the number you were calling?
Murray Hill 70093, but that wasn't the number I overheard. Murray Hill 70093 is my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I was trying to reach him to ask him to come home. I'm an invalid, you know, and it's the maid's night off, and I hate to be alone, even though he says I'm perfectly safe as long as I have the telephone right beside my bed.
Oh, well, we'll look into it, Mrs. Stevenson, and see if we can check it with the telephone company.
But the telephone company said they couldn't check the call if the parties had stopped talking. I've already taken care of that.
Oh, you have?
Yes. And personally, I feel you ought to do something far more immediate and drastic than just the call. Checking the call, what good does that do if they've stopped talking? By the time you've tracked it down, they've already committed the murder.
Well, we'll take care of it. Don't you worry.
Well, I'd say the whole thing calls for a search. A complete and thorough search of the whole city. Now, I'm very near the bridge, and I'm not far from 2nd Avenue, and I know I'd feel a whole lot better if you sent around a radio car to this neighborhood at once.
And what makes you think the murder is going to be committed in your neighborhood, ma'am?
Well, I don't know. Only the coincidence is so horrible. 2nd Avenue? The patrolman and the bridge?
2nd Avenue is a very long street, ma'am. And you know how many bridges there are in the city of New York alone?
Yes, I know that.
Not to mention Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, and the Bronx.
I know.
How do you know there isn't some little house on Staten Island on some little 2nd Avenue you've never heard about? How do you know they're even talking about New York at all?
But I heard it, the call on the New York dialing system.
Maybe it was a long-distance call you overheard.
Oh, don't, please.
Telephones are funny things, ma'am. Look, lady, why don't you look at it this way? Supposing you hadn't broken in on that telephone call?
Yeah.
Supposing you got your husband the way you always do, you wouldn't be so upset, would you?
Well, no, I suppose not. Only it sounded so inhumane, so cold-blooded.
A lot of murders are plotted in this city every day, ma'am. We managed to prevent almost all of them.
But, please.
But a clue of this kind is so vague, it isn't much more use to us than no clue at all.
But surely you understand.
Unless, of course, you have some reason for thinking this call was phony and that someone may be planning to murder you.
Me? Oh, no, I hardly think so. I mean, why should anybody? I'm alone all day and night. I don't see Nobody except my maid Eloise, and oh my God, she's such a big girl. She weighs 200 pounds, and she's too lazy to bring up my breakfast tray. And then the only other person is my husband Albert, and he's crazy about me. He just adores me. He waits on me hand and foot. He's scarcely left my side since I took sick. It's now 12 years ago.
Well, then there's nothing for you to worry about. Now, if you'll just leave the rest of this to us, we'll take care of it.
But what will you do? I mean, it's so late. It's nearly 11 now.
We'll take care of it, lady.
Will you broadcast it all over the city and send out squads? And warn your radio cars to watch out, especially in suspicious neighborhoods like mine.
Lady, I said we'd take care of it. Just now I've got a couple other matters here on my desk that require immediate attention. Good night, ma'am, and thank you.
You! Oh, idiot! Oh, now why did I hang up on the phone like that? He's going to think I'm a fool. Why doesn't Albert come home? Why doesn't he come home?
Your call, please.
Operator, for heaven's sake, will you ring Murray Hill 70093 number again, please? I can't think what's keeping him so long.
I will try it for you.
Well, try. I don't see why he doesn't answer it.
I'm sorry. Murray Hill 70093 is busy.
I can hear it. You don't have to tell me. I know it's busy. If only I could get out of this bed for a little while. If only I could get a breath of fresh air. Just lean out the window and see the street. Oh, hello? Albert, hello? 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 What's the matter with this phone? Hello? Hello? Oh, for heaven's sake, who is this? Hello? Who's trying to call me? Why doesn't she answer?
Your call, please.
Hello, operator. I don't know what's the matter with this telephone tonight, but it's positively driving me crazy. I've never seen such inefficient, miserable service. Now look. I'm an invalid, and I'm very nervous, and I'm not supposed to be annoyed. But if this keeps on much longer,
What seems to be the trouble, please?
well, everything's wrong. I haven't one bit of satisfaction out of one call I've made this evening. The whole world could be murdered for all you people care. And now my phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing every 5 seconds. And when I pick up, there's no one there.
I'm sorry. If you will hang up, I will test it for you.
I don't want you to test it for me. I want you to put that call through, whatever it is, at once.
I'm afraid I cannot do that.
You can't? And why? Why, may I ask?
The dial system is automatic.
Oh.
If someone is trying to dial your number, there is no way to check if the call is coming through the system or not, unless the person who's trying to reach you complains to his particular operator.
Well, of all the stupid... And meanwhile, I've got to sit here in my bed suffering every time that phone rings, imagining everything.
I will try to check the trouble for you.
Check it. That's all anybody can do. Oh, what's the use of talking to you? You're so stupid. Oh, I'll fix her. Of all the impudent... How dare she speak to me like that? How dare she? Call the operator. Oh, why does it have to take so long?
Your call, please.
Young woman, I don't know your name, but there are ways of finding you out. And I'm going to report you to your superiors for the most unpardonable rudeness and insolence that's ever been my privilege to... Give me the business office at once.
You may dial that number direct.
Dial it direct. I'll do no such thing. I don't even know the number.
The number is in the directory, or you may secure it by dialing information.
Listen here, you. Oh, what's the use? Oh, dear. For heaven's sake, I'm going out of my mind! Out of my mind! Hello? Hello? Stop ringing me, do you hear? Answer me! Who is this? Do you realize you're driving me crazy? Who's calling me? What are you doing it for? Now stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Hello? Hello? If you don't stop ringing me, I'm going to call the police. Do you hear? The police. Oh, if Albert would only come home. Oh, let it ring. Let it go on ringing. It's some kind of trick. I won't answer it. I won't. I won't. Not even it goes on ringing all night. Oh, you ring. Go ahead and ring. Stopped. Now, what's the matter? Why did they stop ringing all of a sudden? What time is it? Where did I put that clock? Oh, here it is. 5 to 11. They've decided something. They're sure I'm home. They heard my voice answer them just now. That's why they've been ringing me and why no one has answered me. I'll call the operator. Where is she? Why doesn't she answer? Why doesn't she answer me?
Your call, please.
Where were you just now? Why didn't you answer at once? Please give me the police department.
I'm sorry, the line is busy. I will call you.
Busy? That's impossible. The police department can't be busy. There must be other lines available.
The line is busy. I will try to get them for you later.
No. I've got to speak to them now or it may be too late. I've got to talk to someone.
What number do you wish to speak to?
I don't know. But there must be someone to protect people out besides the police department. A detective agency, maybe. Please.
You will find agencies listed in the classified directory.
But I don't have a classified. I mean, I'm too nervous to look it up, and I don't know how to use the classified.
I'll connect you with information. Perhaps she will be able to help you.
No. Oh, you're being spiteful, aren't you? You don't care, do you, what happens to me? I could die and you wouldn't care. Stop it. Stop it. I can't stand anymore. Hello, and what do you want? Stop ringing me, will you? Stop it.
Hello, is this Plaza 4, 2295?
Yes. I'm sorry. This is Plaza 4, 2295.
This is Western Union. I have a telegram here for a Mrs. Albert Stevenson. Is there anyone there to receive the message?
Yes, I'm Mrs. Stevenson.
The telegram is as follows. Mrs. Albert Stevenson, 53 North Sutton Place,
Yes.
New York. Darling, terribly sorry. Tried to get you for last hour, but line busy. Leaving for Boston 11 p.m. tonight on urgent business. Back tomorrow afternoon. Keep happy. Love. Signed, Albert.
No, oh no.
Do you wish us to deliver a copy of the message?
No. Thank you.
Well, thank you, madam. Good night.
Good night. Oh, no. No, I can't believe it. He couldn't do it. Not when he knows I'll be all alone. It's some trick, some fiendish trick. It's got to be some trick. Why doesn't she? Please.
Your call, please.
Operator, try Murray Hill 70093 number for me just once more, please.
You may dial that number direct.
Oh! Murray Hill 70093. Yes. He's gone. He's gone. Oh, Albert. How could you? How could you do this? No. Please answer me. Be there. Please be there. How could you? I can't be home alone tonight. I just can't. I can't be alone one more second. I'll go mad. I don't care what he says or what the expenses. I'm a sick woman. I'm entitled. I'm entitled. Yes.
Information, may I help you?
Yes, I want the telephone number of Hinchley Hospital.
Hinchley Hospital? Do you have the street address?
No, it's somewhere in the 70s. It's a very small, private, and exclusive hospital. That's where I had my appendix out 2 years ago. Hinchley, H-E-N-C.
1 moment, please.
Please hurry, and please tell me what the time is.
You may find out the time by dialing Meridian 7
Oh.
212.
Oh, for heaven's sake, I've no time to be dialing.
The number of Hinchley Hospital is Butterfield 70105.
Okay, Butterfield 7? 0105. Yes. That's what it is.
Hinchley Hospital, good evening.
Good. Nurses Registry.
Who was it you wish to speak to, please?
I want the nurses registry at once. I want a trained nurse. I want to hire her immediately for the night.
I see. And what is the nature of the case, madam?
Nerves. I'm very nervous, and I need soothing companionship. You see, my husband is away, and I'm in a...
Have you been recommended to us by any doctor in particular, madam?
No, but I really don't see why all this catechizing is necessary. I just want a trained nurse. I was a patient in your hospital 2 years ago, and after all, I do expect to pay for this person attending me.
We quite understand that, madam, but these are war times, you know.
Yeah, well, yes.
Registered nurses are very scarce just now, and our superintendent had asked us to speak people out only on cases where the physician in charge feels that it is absolutely necessary.
Well, it is absolutely necessary. I'm a sick woman. I'm very upset, I'm alone in this house, and I'm an invalid. Tonight I've overheard a telephone conversation that upset me dreadfully, and in fact, if someone doesn't come at once, I'm afraid I'll go out of my mind.
I see. Well, I'll speak to Miss Phillips as soon as she comes in. What is your name, madam?
Miss Phillips? When do you expect Miss Phillips in?
Well, I really couldn't say. She just went out to supper at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock? But it's not 11 yet.
Just 15 minutes past 11.
What did you say? Oh, my clock. It stopped. I thought it was running down. What did you say? What time it is?
What, madam?
What time is it?
Just 15 minutes past 11.
Oh, my God. Oh, what was that?
What was what, madam?
That click. That click just now on my telephone. As though someone had lifted the receiver off the hook of the extension telephone downstairs.
Well, I didn't hear it, madam. Now about this.
But I did. There's someone in this house. Someone downstairs in the kitchen. And they're listening to me now. I won't pick it up. I won't let them hear me. I'll be quiet, and they'll think, oh no. But if I don't call someone now, while they're still down there, there'll be no time.
Your call, please.
Operator, I'm in desperate trouble.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Please speak louder.
I don't care. There's someone listening. Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry.
But you have to listen to me. Hear me, please. Oh, please. You've got to help me. There's someone in this house. Someone who's going to murder me. And if you get in touch with the police. Oh, there it is. There it is. Did you hear it? He's put the phone down. He put down the extension phone now. He's coming up. He's coming up the stairs. Give me the police department. The police department, please get me the police department.
One moment, please. I will connect you.
I can hear him. I can hear him. Oh, he's nearer. Oh, I hear him. I hear him.
Police Department, Sergeant Martin speaking. Police Department, Sergeant Martin speaking. Police Department, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police department? Oh, I'm sorry. Must have got the wrong number. Don't worry, everything's okay.
You see, technology has always made people paranoid, and sometimes they are right. And people still to this day fly off the handle, even knowing the operator is a computer-generated voice. So closes Sorry, Wrong Number, tonight's first tale of suspense. Sorry, Wrong Number starred Becky Staff as Mrs. Stevenson and featured Betty Greenwell as the operator, Tony Brewer as First Man, Richard Fish as George and Chief Operator, Brian Roberts as Sergeant Martin, Kyle Quass as Western Union, Ian Uriel Girdley as Information, and Joan Hawkins as Hinchley Hospital. Our next play, It Burns Me Up, a tale of revenge from beyond the veil of existence, from a time before fingerprints and forensics revolutionized detective work, when newspapers were the internet of the day, and journalists were driven by the motto, if it bleeds, it leads. It Burns Me Up is by Ray Bradbury, and it's a story told by a dead man. A man, Mr. Jameson, who, well, let him speak for himself.
I'm lying here in the very center of the room, and I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not perturbed. In the first place, in order for a man to be perturbed, angry, mad, he must recognize some stimulus from outside which touches his nerves. The nerves flash a message to the brain. The brain kicks back quick orders to all parts of the body. Be angry, be mad, be disturbed. Eyelashes pull back from eyes, let eyes protrude, muscles work, pupils dilate, mouth pull back tight from teeth, ears blush, brow furrow, heart beat, blood surge. Get angry, get perturbed, get mad. But I do not madden. No matter how hard I try to be incensed, fuming, swearing, I cannot. Nothing responds. I am dead.
Well, so he's dead.
Yeah, died quickly. That knife certainly did things to his throat.
So we talked to his wife for an hour, 2 hours, 3, 4, then what do we get? Nothing. Hell, we can't stay here all night. My wife will kill me. I'm never home nights anymore. More damn murders.
The police detective leans over me like a gigantic lion moving in a world of live people. A large-lipped man with lips vised about a long, smoking cigar. When he talks, his teeth gleam around the vise in amber flashes. He drops cigar ash on my coat. And the coroner, so brisk, so efficient, his fingers, like inquisitive calipers, measure my circumference, my diameter.
Well, whoever slit his throat then stabbed him 3 times in the chest. Well, very nice job. Impressively bloody.
And the wife ain't got a blood speck on her. How do you figure that?
What'd she say?
She don't say. She just plumps there, crooning to herself, "I won't spill till I see my lawyer." That's all she'll say. "I won't spill till I see my lawyer." Over and over, like a damn fool nursery rhyme. I can't fathom it.
My wife is the cleverest one in the room. She resembles nothing more than a small, soft, dark leopard whiskering and licking itself, pleased with its actions, curled in a chair, head turned away from me. Instead of crying, she is very glad. I try to be incensed, fuming, swearing. I cannot. I am dead. I lie here, sleeping, and these people are the fragments of my bloodless dreaming. Carrion eaters over a decaying carcass, carnivores lusting on the hot spilled blood of killing at night, taking that blood and re-spilling it upon the pages of tabloid papers. A little blood is chemical enough to drive 10 million presses. A little blood is adrenaline enough to pound 30 million literate, reading hearts.
Oh, no, you don't! We don't need no news hounds in here. Go on!
Hey, Kelly, what's going on here?
This gink wants in, boss.
Ah, who the hell does he think he is?
Carl, from the Tribune, H.J. Randolph sent me.
Oh, well, Kelly, you fool, let the guy in. Randolph and I went to school together.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, come on. Yes, I did. Well, hello, Carlton. Pull up a chair, pull up a corpse, and sit down.
Tonight, I have died. Tomorrow morning, I will die again in 30 million brains, caught like a fly in a web, sucked dry by the multi-tentacled public and flushed through the transits of their minds to be replaced by heiress Mary's Duke. Coal miners strike. Income tax increase due. The reporter named Carlton looks me over with his baby blue eyes.
Wow, self-surgery. Ear to ear. I only talked to St. Peter in that condition.
Oh, I'll sew him up new as paint. I'm pretty good at that, you know. Lots of practice.
Hotsy-totsy. Say, what is this, a love nest maybe? All the trimmings. God, he looks like Christmas, don't he? Green around the gills and big red ribbons of blood tied in coagulated bows.
Oh, jeez, Carlton. Is that the way you write for the Tribune?
Ha! Nothing but the best.
So, the vultures circle over me. The coroner, the detective, the hyena newsmen digging at the dead thoughts of my love. And here are the fawns and the goats peering timidly in through the windows. Mrs. McLeod from next door is looking through the south window on fat tiptoe, her shining gray eyes hippopotamus-like in the night.
Wait until I write Susan in Springfield. Oh, she will be jealous. My very own mysterious murder in my own front yard. Well, almost. Who would have thought we'd have such things like this in our neighborhood? I tell you, Anna, come here. Come, look, see? See that detective, that man with the fat under his chin? Why, he doesn't look like a detective to me, does he to you? Oh, he looks like a bad guy, a villain. Now, take that young reporter guy. Oh, he looks just like Philo Vance, only younger. I bet he'll be the one who really solves the case. But they never get the credit. That's the way. Look at that woman over there in the corner. I bet she was his mistress and not his wife.
Get away from that window, lady!
I've got a right to look in.
Lady, move along.
Young man, I own this lawn right up to the window. This is my house, and I rented it to Mr. Jameson myself.
Lady, move along.
Young man,
That will do, Mrs. McLeod. That will do for a long time. Now, back to the people in the room. The reporter, Carlton, is attracted to my wife as a planet is attracted to the sun. He's fast, and my wife is languid, heavy-lidded, and easygoing.
Yes, indeed.
She will not be pushed pell-mell into anything. She will simply have her say.
I came home from the nightclub, and there he was, lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. That's all I know.
You sing at the nightclub Bomba.
Yes, I'm a very good singer. I can hit a C above a high C if you want. Once I had a chance with the Metropolitan Opera Company, but I didn't consider it. I don't like them.
Oh, Mama, what's wrong with that man?
Look, baby, you may never see anything like that again.
Oh, Mama, is he dead?
Move along, lady. Back from the window, all of y'all, please. Can't you see I'm tired? I've been on my feet all night. Now move away.
I am now immortal. Caught in that child's mind, I shall be dead forevermore. And on dark nights I will stride drunkenly through the shivering corridors of her body, and she will waken shrieking, ripping the bedclothes apart. Someday her husband will feel her red fingernails in his fleshy arm, and that will be me in the middle dark, reaching out a constricting claw to clutch again at life. Now the detective glares hotly at the reporter.
Okay, Carlton, that's it. I'm the one who interviews her, you bozo.
Aw, but say, Captain, you want a good report for the paper, don't you? With pictures? Sure you do, so I gotta get the details.
Now, what about this body?
Yes, for God's sake, gentlemen, let's get back to me. What am I lying here for? But the reporter is getting the details. He's getting them fine. My wife has a 33 bust, 28 waist, 31 hips. Someone should remind him to call her after the funeral.
Now, you had a lot of men tagging after you, didn't you, Mom?
Well, yes, I've always been popular. Couldn't help it, I guess. He never seemed to mind the other men tagging at my heels. It sort of upheld his judgment in marrying a thoroughbred.
Come on, Carlton, back off. Let me have a crack at her. Ah, too bad, boys. She seems to like the way I wear my suit. Hey, say, Captain, who done the killing?
We're rounding up all her boyfriends.
Sure, Captain, yeah. Keep up the good work. So long, madam. Sorry for your loss. You too, dead buddy. Don't wait up for me. Thanks. I'll be back. I want to phone a call.
All right. We've done all we can here. Fingerprints, clues, photographs, squillings. I guess we can let the body,
Sure. I think we can take it away now. Yes.
You really think this is a suicide setup? If you ask me...
I'm not asking. How would you explain them stab wounds, wise guy?
I see it this way. She comes home, finds him freshly dead on the floor, having just killed himself. That explains how she took the suicide weapon and stabbed him 3 times in a frenzy of, what, delight? She was glad to find him dead and let herself go. There's no blood in the stab wounds, and that proves he was stabbed later, after she found him lying there.
No, you're all wrong. You're dead wrong. That's not the way it worked at all. Not at all.
Oh, but the coroner's right. He's exactly right.
Now wait a minute.
That's how it was. I came in, he was lying there, and something came over me. I must have just seized the dagger and yelled I was glad he was dead and stabbed him some more.
But wait, that can't be that just can't be how it happened.
That's
no way.
how it happened.
Well, look, it seems to me it just don't work out that way.
Young woman, you won't be prosecuted for murder, but you'll be fined for mutilating a corpse.
Oh, shut up, everybody!
That's all right. Go ahead. Find me.
Oh, jeez.
Is that true? Is it true what he said, Mrs. Jameson?
You may quote me. It's true.
Oh, God, don't pay any attention to her, boys.
But it's the truth.
Everybody clear out. I've had enough. Come on.
Case closed. Hey, look this way, Mrs. Jameson. Just cross your legs that way. Yeah, that's it.
Wait a minute, boys. How about a nice picture of me? I'm looking down at the corpse here, see? And I'm thinking, see?
I get it, Captain. Period. Exclamation point.
Ah, that's it. Everybody out. Clear out, everybody. On your feet, Mrs. Jameson. Take her downtown. You reporters want more? Come on down to the station.
Oh, boy. What a story. Hot seat. Hey, look this way, honey. Photographs.
Hurry up, Alice. Look through that window. They're going to take him out now.
Drop a sheet over the stiff, Bill.
Oh, darn it. You're too late. We can't see anything.
Close the window, Kelly.
Yes, sir. Say, Captain, what do you think about some hot cakes and maybe syrup down at the White Log?
Oh, jeez.
I cannot even lick my lips, but I am pleased. I died before midnight. Therefore, I will make the morning paper. Mr. Jones will pick me up with his cup of Sanka, thoughtful of me. The detective mops his brow, unsheathes a fresh cigar, and spits the bit end of it at my feet. He doesn't speak, but he thinks a lot. He looks like a man with a dominant wife, and he's dreading going home to her now. He likes to idle, stay out all night, and bodies give him an excuse. Now a pretty good one. But I'm not worth much anymore. He'll make a routine report and go home. The coroner is the only one left now. He pats me on the shoulder.
Nobody asked you any questions, did they, friend? Well, then what about it? Were you murdered by her or her friends? Or did you kill yourself over her? Huh. A fool in love is twice a fool. And not talking, huh? Yeah, that's why I like dead bodies, you know? They don't argue back like some people. Yeah, well, so long, friend.
I'm alone now. In a few minutes, a couple of guys will come in, glance at me, tilt me over onto a stretcher, trot me downtown in a slow wagon, no hurry. And a week from now, a man who is worrying about his income tax will turn a handle and a door will open and flames will burn me. And I will rush up the flue of the crematory with so many gray flakes. And with some sort of ironic justice and the providence of a stiff March wind, a week from now, when all these people, my wife, the detective, the coroner, the reporters, Mrs. McLeod, when these people are crossing the street, maybe they'll get something in their damned eyes, all of them. Little pieces of gray ash, maybe. Little pieces of gray ash.
It Burns Me Up starred Tony Brewer as Mr. Jameson, the dead man. Brian Roberts as the coroner, Richard Fish as the detective, Kyle Kloss as Kelly the cop, Joan Hawkins as the wife, Arthur Cullifer as Carlton the reporter, Ian Girdley as Smith the reporter, Becky Staff as Mrs. McLeod the neighbor, Betty Greenwell as the mother, and Becky Staff as her child. And now, our final play for this evening. A young man's desire makes for hard life decisions, but none as difficult as the one he makes tonight in this heartwarming tale of giving and redemption. The Junky's Christmas by William S. Burroughs.
It was Christmas Day, and Danny, the car wiper, hit the street, junk sick and broke after 72 hours in the precinct jail. It was a clear, bright day, but there was no warmth in the sun. Danny shivered with an inner cold. He turned up the collar of his worn, greasy black overcoat and thought to himself,
Yeah, this beat Benny wouldn't pawn for a deuce.
he was in the West 90s. A long block of brownstone rooming houses. Here and there, a holly wreath and a clean black window. Danny's senses registered everything, sharp and clear, with the painful intensity of junk sickness. The light hurt his dilated eyes. He walked past a car, darting his pale blue eyes sideways in quick appraisal. There was a package on the seat, and one of the ventilator windows was unlocked. Danny walked on 10 feet. No one in sight. He snapped his fingers and went through a pantomime of remembering something and wheeled around. No one.
Bad setup. The street being empty like this, kind of stand out conspicuous. Gotta make this fast.
He reached for the ventilator window. A door opened behind him. Danny whipped out a rag and began polishing the car windows. He could feel the man standing behind him. "What are you doing?" Danny turned as if surprised.
I just thought your car windows needed polishing, mister.
The man had a frog face and a deep South accent. He was wearing a camel's hair overcoat. "My car don't need polishing, or nothing stole out of it neither." Danny slid sideways as the man grabbed for him.
I wasn't looking to steal nothing, mister. I'm from the South, too. Florida.
"Goddamn sneaking thief!" Danny walked away fast and turned the corner.
Yeah, better get out of the neighborhood. That hick's likely to call the law.
He walked 15 blocks. Sweat ran down his body. There was an ache in his lungs. His lips drew back off his yellow teeth in a snarl of desperation.
I gotta score somehow. If I just had some decent clothes.
Danny saw a suitcase standing in a doorway. Good leather. He stopped and pretended to look for a cigarette.
Funny, no one around. Inside maybe, phoning for a cab.
The corner was only a few houses away. Danny took a deep breath and picked up the suitcase. He made the corner. Another block. Another corner. The case was heavy.
I gotta score here, all right. Maybe enough for a 16th in a room.
Danny shivered and twitched, feeling a warm room and heroin emptying into his veins.
Let's have a quick look.
He stepped into Morningside Park. No one around.
Jesus, I've never seen the town this empty.
He opened the suitcase. 2 long packages in brown wrapping paper. He took one out. It felt like meat. He tore the package open at one end, revealing a woman's naked foot. The toenails were painted with purple-red polish. He dropped the leg with a sneer of disgust.
Holy Jesus! The routines people put down these days. Legs! Well, I got a suitcase anyway.
He dumped the other leg out. No bloodstains. He snapped the case shut and walked away.
Legs.
He found the buyer sitting at a table in Yarrow's cafeteria. Danny set the case down.
Thought you might be taking the day off.
The buyer shook his head sadly. I got nobody. So what's Christmas to me? His eyes traveled over the case, poking, testing, looking for flaws. What was in it?
Nothing.
What's the matter? I don't pay enough?
I tell you, there wasn't nothing in it.
Okay, so somebody travels with an empty suitcase. Okay. He held up 3 fingers.
For Christ's sake, Gimpy, give me a nickel.
You got somebody else. Why don't he give you a nickel?
It's like I say, the case was empty.
Gimpy kicked at the case disparagingly. It's all nicked up and kind of dirty looking. He sniffed suspiciously. How come it stink like that? Mexican leather?
So my little other business?
Gimpy shrugged. Could be. He pulled out a roll of bills and pulled off 3 ones, dropping them on the table behind the napkin dispenser. You want? Danny picked up the money.
Okay. Hey, you seen George the Greek?
Where you been? He got busted 2 days ago.
That's bad.
Danny walked out, thinking.
Now where can I score?
George the Greek had lasted so long, Danny thought of him as permanent.
It was good H2 and no short counts.
Danny went up to 103rd and Broadway. Nobody in Harrow's. Nobody in the automat.
Yeah, all the pushers off on the nod someplace. What they care about anybody else, as long as they get it in the vein? What they care about a sick junkie?
He wiped his nose with one finger, looking around furtively.
No use hitting those jigs in Harlem. Like as not get beat for my money or they slip me rat poison. Might find Penapalm Rose at 8th and 23rd.
There was no one he knew in the 23rd Street Thompsons.
Jesus, where is everybody?
He clutched his coat collar together with one hand, looking up and down the street.
Oh, there's Joey from Brooklyn. I'd know that hat anywhere. Joey! Hey, Joey!
Joey was walking away with his back to Danny. He turned around. His face was sunken, skull-like. The gray eyes glittered under a greasy felt hat. Joey was sniffing at regular intervals and his eyes were watering.
No use asking him.
They looked at each other with the hatred of disappointment.
Guess you heard about George the Greek?
Yeah, I heard. You been up to 103rd?
Yeah, I just came from there. There's nobody around.
Nobody around any place. I can't even score for goofballs.
Yeah, well, Merry Christmas, Joey. See you.
Yeah, see you. Danny was walking fast. He had remembered a croaker on 18th Street. Of course, The croaker had told him not to come back. Still, it was worth trying. A brownstone house with a card in the window. P.H. Zuniga, M.D. Danny rang the bell. He heard slow steps. The door opened, and the doctor looked at Danny with bloodshot brown eyes. He was weaving slightly and supported his plump body against the door jamb. His face was smooth, Latin, the little red mouth slack. He said nothing, he just leaned there looking at Danny.
Goddamned alcoholic. Merry Christmas, Doctor.
The doctor did not reply.
You remember me, Doctor.
Danny tried to edge past the doctor into the house.
I'm sorry to trouble you on Christmas Day, but I've suffered another attack.
Attack?
Yes. Facial neuralgia.
Danny twisted one side of his face into a horrible grimace. The doctor recoiled slightly, and Danny pushed into the dark hallway.
Better shut that door or you'll be catching cold.
Danny was jovial and shut the door with a flourish. The doctor looked at him, his eyes focusing visibly. I can't give you a prescription.
But, Doctor, this is a legitimate condition. An emergency, you understand?
No prescription? Impossible. It's against the law.
You took an oath, Doctor. I'm in agony!
Danny's voice shot up to a hysterical grating whine. The doctor winced and passed a hand over his forehead. Let me think. I can give you 1/4 grain tablet. That's all I have in the house.
But, Doctor, a quarter G?
The doctor stopped him. If your condition is legitimate, you will not need more. If it isn't, I don't want anything to do with you. Wait right here. The doctor weaved down the hall, leaving a wake of alcoholic breath. He came back and dropped a tablet into Danny's hand. Danny wrapped the tablet in a piece of paper and tucked it away. There is no charge. The doctor put his hand on the doorknob. And now, my dear...
But, Doctor, can't you inject the medication?
No. You will obtain longer relief in using orally. Please, not to return. The doctor opened the door.
Well, this will take the edge off. And I still have money to put down on a room.
Danny knew a drugstore that sold needles without question. He bought a 26-gauge insulin needle and an eyedropper, which he selected carefully, rejecting models with a curved dropper or a thick end. Finally, he bought a baby pacifier to use instead of the bulb. He stopped in the automat and stole a teaspoon.
Danny put down $2 on a $6 a week room in the West 40s, where he knew the landlord. He bolted the door and put his spoon, needle, and dropper on a table by the bed. He dropped the tablet in the spoon and covered it with a dropper full of water. He held a match under the spoon until the tablet dissolved. He tore a strip of paper, wet it, and wrapped it around the end of the dropper, fitting the needle over the wet paper to make an airtight connection. He dropped a piece of lint from his pocket into the spoon and sucked the liquid into the dropper through the needle, holding the needle in the lint to take up the last drop.
Danny's hands trembled with excitement and his breath was quick. With a shot in front of him, his defenses gave way and junk sickness flooded his body. His legs began to twitch and ache. A cramp stirred in his stomach. Tears ran down his face from his smarting, burning eyes. He wrapped a handkerchief around his right arm, holding the end in his teeth. He tucked the handkerchief in and began rubbing his arm to bring out a vein, then ran one finger along that vein and picked up the dropper in his left hand.
Guess I can hit that one.
Danny heard a groan coming from the next room. He frowned with annoyance. Another groan. He could not help listening. He walked across the room, the dropper in his hand, and inclined his ear to the wall. The groans were coming at regular intervals, a horrible, inhuman sound pushed out from the stomach. Danny listened for a full minute. He returned to the bed and sat down.
Why don't someone call a doctor? It's a bring down.
He straightened his arm and poised the needle. He tilted his head, listening again.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
He tore the handkerchief and placed the dropper in a water glass, which he hid behind the wastebasket. He stepped in the hall and knocked on the door of the next room. There was no answer. The groans continued. Danny tried the door, but it was open.
The shade was up, and the room was full of light. He had expected an old person somehow, but the man on the bed was very young, 18 or 20, fully clothed and doubled up, with his hands clasped across his stomach.
What's wrong, kid?
The boy looked at him, his eyes blank with pain. Finally, he got out one word.
Kidneys.
Kidney stones? I don't mean it's funny, kid. It's just, I faked it so many times, but I never saw the real thing before. I'll call you an ambulance.
The boy bit his lip.
Won't come. Doctor won't come.
The boy hid his face in the pillow, and Danny nodded.
Yeah, they figure it's just another junkie throwing a wingding for a shot. But your case is legit. Maybe if I went to the hospital and explained things. No, I guess that wouldn't be so good.
I don't live here.
The boy said, his voice muffled.
They say I'm not entitled.
Yeah, I know how they are, the bureaucratic bastards. I had a friend once, died of a snake bite right in the waiting room. They wouldn't even listen when he tried to explain a snake bit him. He never had enough moxie. That was 15 years ago, down in Jacksonville.
Danny trailed off. Suddenly, he put out his thin, dirty hand and touched the boy's shoulder.
I'm sorry, kid. You wait, I'll fix you up.
He went back to his room and got the dropper and returned to the boy's room.
Roll up your sleeve, kid.
The boy fumbled his coat sleeve with a weak hand.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll get it.
Danny undid the shirt button at the wrist and pushed the shirt and coat up, bearing a thin brown forearm. Danny hesitated, looking at the dropper. Sweat ran down his nose. The boy was looking up at him. Danny shoved the needle in the boy's forearm and watched the liquid drain into the flesh. He straightened up. The boy's face began to relax. He sat up and smiled.
Say, that stuff really works. You a doctor, mister?
No, kid.
The boy lay down, stretching.
I feel real sleepy. I didn't sleep all night last night.
His eyes were closing.
Danny walked across the room and pulled the shade down. He went back to his room and closed the door without locking it. He sat on the bed, looking at the empty dropper. It was getting dark outside. Danny's body ached for junk, but it was a dull ache now, dull and hopeless. Numbly, he took the needle off the dropper and wrapped it in a piece of paper. Then he wrapped the needle and dropper together. He sat there with the package in his hand.
Yeah, gotta stash this someplace.
Suddenly, a warm flood pulsed through his veins and broke in his head like 1,000 golden speedballs.
For Christ's sake, I must have scored for the immaculate fix.
The vegetable serenity of junk settled in his tissues.
His face went slack and peaceful, and his head fell forward.
Danny the car wiper was on the nod. Junky's Christmas was written by William S. Burroughs and adapted for audio theater by David Osman. It was narrated by Richard Fish and Arthur Culliford. Becky Staff played the kid. Joey and Dr. P.H. Zunigo were played by Arthur Culliford. The Southern Man and Billy the buyer were played by Richard Fish. And Danny the car wiper was played by Ian Uriel Girdley. Music for all the plays was by Chris Rawle and Kyle Quass. Tony Brewer directed and provided live sound effects with assistance from Richard Fish. I am the Man in Black, and this has been a production of the Burroughs Century Wounded Galaxies Festival and the Writers Guild at Bloomington. Merry Christmas, one and all.